Imagine being promised a life-changing opportunity in a new country, a chance to work, study, and secure a future you've been dreaming of for years, only to realize that everything you paid for was nothing more than an elaborate illusion. For many international students in the UK, this nightmare became a reality when a British-Pakistani recruiter operating in Wolverhampton built an empire around fake visa sponsorships, taking advantage of their hopes, fears, and aspirations. This story begins in a modest office where carefully designed letters and fraudulent documents were presented as legitimate pathways to legal work and residency. Every student who walked in believed they were following the rules and investing in their future, unaware that they were stepping into a scheme meticulously planned to exploit their trust. The recruiter, Raza, understood the vulnerabilities of those eager to work in the health and care sector, particularly during a time when skilled workers were in high demand. He offered sponsorships that seemed real, presenting letters from care homes and forged certificates of sponsorship that bore the appearance of official documentation. In reality, these organizations had never heard of the students, and the jobs promised did not exist. Students paid thousands of pounds, often taking loans or exhausting personal savings, convinced that they were securing a safe path to the UK. The scam was not only about money, it was about controlling the narrative, creating a facade so convincing that victims were left with no reason to suspect fraud until the rejection letters started arriving. The operation ran smoothly for months, with each fake application adding another layer of credibility to the scheme. Raza's office became a hub for anxious students who were given false assurances and guided through paperwork that seemed legitimate. He even cultivated a small network of helpers from among his victims, creating an appearance of teamwork and legitimacy, further masking the deception. When visa rejections began to pile up, panic spread among those who had trusted him, and the reality of the scam began to surface. Calls to care homes revealed that no jobs had been offered, letters were fake, and documents were forged. As complaints grew, Raza closed his office, cut off communication, and vanished, leaving behind a trail of broken dreams and financial loss. Students found themselves stranded, undocumented, and afraid to seek help due to their immigration status, which made them even more vulnerable. Community organizations like the Sikh Advice Center began to receive multiple complaints, and media outlets started to investigate, but by then, Raza had already fled to Pakistan, taking with him over £1.2 million. Despite the scale of the fraud, legal action remained impossible. No trial, no extradition, and no arrests, leaving the victims with a harsh lesson in trust and the limitations of protective systems. The story serves as a cautionary tale about the allure of quick solutions, the dangers of exploitation, and the importance of vigilance when navigating opportunities abroad. It highlights how individuals in positions of influence can manipulate hope for personal gain, and how systemic gaps, in this case within visa oversight and enforcement, can allow such schemes to flourish. Beyond the financial loss, the emotional and psychological impact on students cannot be overstated. The shame, fear, and uncertainty of being left undocumented, combined with the realization that someone they trusted could disappear without consequence, leaves a lasting scar. Yet there's also a lesson in resilience and community. As victims came forward, organizations rallied to provide support, warn others, and shed light on the fraudulent activities, demonstrating the power of collective action even when formal justice fails. This case is not merely about a scam. It is about the human cost of exploitation, the consequences of systemic weaknesses, and the need for awareness, caution, and verification when navigating opportunities that promise more than they can deliver. It is a reminder that in a world where ambition and desperation intersect, the line between opportunity and deception can be thin, and vigilance is the key to navigating it safely. As the reality of the scam began to surface, the full scale of the deception became painfully clear. Over 141 victims had fallen into Raza's meticulously crafted trap, each paying amounts ranging from £8,000 to £20,000, believing they were securing legal work and a future in the UK. The sums may have seemed like a reasonable investment for the promise of stability and opportunity, but in reality, they were being funneled straight into Raza's accounts, funding a lifestyle built on the exploitation of hope. Each student arrived with dreams and aspirations, often leaving behind family, friends, and familiar surroundings in the belief that their sacrifices would lead to success. Raza understood this vulnerability and manipulated it expertly. He provided forged documents, fake job offers, and sponsorship letters that were convincing at first glance. These letters were designed to mimic official Home Office templates and carried the illusion of legitimacy, making it nearly impossible for students to detect the fraud immediately. They trusted the process, followed the instructions diligently, and submitted all the paperwork as instructed, believing they were doing everything correctly. It was only when rejection letters began arriving that the truth became undeniable and the shock of betrayal hit with full force. Students called the care homes listed in their letters, only to discover that the organizations had no knowledge of them and had never offered employment. For many, the consequences were devastating. The money they had invested vanished, their plans for legal work were derailed, and their immigration status became precarious. Fear and shame prevented many from reporting the crime immediately, leaving Raza free to continue hiding abroad. Meanwhile, the ripple effect extended beyond finances. Families who had supported their children through the payments and sacrifices faced immense disappointment, while the emotional toll on the students grew heavier with each passing day. Anxiety, uncertainty, and a feeling of helplessness became common experiences, as victims were unsure how to navigate a system they had trusted. Community organizations began receiving complaints, and word of the scam spread through social and professional networks, bringing attention to the scope of the problem. The Seek Advice Center, among others, became a focal point for victims seeking guidance, counseling, and support, demonstrating the critical role such organizations play in protecting vulnerable populations. Investigations revealed that the scam was not a one-off incident, but a structured operation. Raza had processed hundreds of fake applications in just 6 months, using his knowledge of visa loopholes and the desperation of applicants to orchestrate a large-scale fraud. He even went to the extent of funding luxury trips to Dubai using the victims' money, further highlighting the stark contrast between the losses suffered by the students and the lifestyle he enjoyed. Media exposure eventually brought the case to public attention, with BBC investigations revealing the extent of the deception and the sheer amount of money taken. Despite these revelations, the absence of legal consequences for Raza highlighted systemic weaknesses in enforcing immigration fraud cases, particularly when perpetrators flee abroad. The inability of authorities to prosecute or extradite him left victims with a profound sense of injustice. The narrative of this scam is a stark reminder of how complex and insidious exploitation can be when it intersects with ambition, desperation, and systemic vulnerabilities. It underscores the importance of vigilance, verification, and awareness, especially for those navigating international opportunities. While financial loss is tangible, the psychological impact, ranging from betrayal to fear and uncertainty, leaves an equally significant mark. Community organizations, media exposure, and public awareness serve as essential tools for protection and prevention, filling the gaps left by formal legal mechanisms. The story also raises questions about accountability and the limitations of enforcement in cross-border fraud, demonstrating that even when the evidence is overwhelming, justice can remain elusive. Ultimately, the experience of these students serves as a cautionary tale for anyone seeking opportunities abroad. Trust must be earned, documentation verified, and due diligence prioritized. It also emphasizes the broader societal need to address vulnerabilities within immigration systems and provide safeguards against exploitation, ensuring that no one else falls victim to schemes built on manipulation and deceit. The lessons from this case are multifaceted, touching on financial literacy, immigration awareness, community support, and the ethical responsibilities of those in positions of influence. It is a story of ambition, betrayal, and the enduring consequences of unchecked exploitation, offering valuable insights for individuals, communities, and authorities alike.
As the magnitude of the scam became undeniable, the focus shifted from the individual losses to the systemic implications and the methodical way the recruiter had orchestrated his escape. Raza had not only defrauded students, but had also built a sophisticated exit plan that allowed him to vanish without immediate consequence. Once complaints started to surface and attention began to mount, he strategically shut down his Wolverhampton office, ensuring that all traces of his operation were minimized. Phones were disconnected, emails ignored, and the premises emptied, leaving victims bewildered and struggling to comprehend the sudden disappearance. Many of the students were left in limbo, uncertain about their immigration status, financial situation, and the authenticity of the promises they had been given. Some sought assistance from community organizations, while others attempted to contact UK authorities, only to encounter bureaucratic obstacles that slowed the response. Meanwhile, Raza had already crossed borders, escaping to Pakistan where he believed he could live without fear of immediate prosecution. This move highlighted a significant challenge in addressing international fraud. Perpetrators can exploit jurisdictional limitations to avoid accountability. With the scammer out of reach, victims were left to grapple with both the emotional and practical fallout of the scheme. They were financially depleted, often having invested their life savings or borrowed substantial sums to pay for what they believed were legitimate visas. Beyond the financial strain, there was a profound sense of betrayal and vulnerability. Many students faced the added stress of being undocumented, which limited their ability to seek formal recourse, report the crime, or even access basic services without fear of immigration consequences. This created a complex web of fear, uncertainty, and helplessness, emphasizing the human cost of exploitation. Community organizations, local advocacy groups, and media outlets stepped in to provide support, counsel victims, and expose the magnitude of the fraud. The role was pivotal in preventing further harm and raising public awareness about the vulnerabilities within the visa and immigration system. The BBC's investigative reporting brought the story to national attention, detailing how Raza had manipulated trust, processed hundreds of fraudulent applications, and used the victims' money to fund a lifestyle far removed from the hardship experienced by those he had deceived. Despite the exposure and public outrage, the lack of legal recourse underscored systemic weaknesses. UK authorities faced significant obstacles in prosecuting Raza, including issues related to extradition, evidence gathering across borders, and the complex nature of immigration law. This gap between crime and accountability amplified the frustration and sense of injustice experienced by the victims. The story illustrates the interplay between individual deceit and structural vulnerabilities, demonstrating how ambition and desperation can be exploited when oversight is insufficient. Each student's story contributes to a larger narrative about trust, exploitation, and the need for vigilance. While Raza may have believed he had outsmarted the system, the ripple effects of his actions were profound. Students were left scrambling to rebuild their lives, families faced emotional and financial strain, and communities had to step in to fill gaps left by formal authorities. The case also serves as a cautionary tale about due diligence and verification. It underscores the importance for individuals pursuing opportunities abroad to critically evaluate offers, verify documentation independently, and seek advice from trusted sources before committing significant resources. The ethical dimension is equally important. Raza's actions reveal how individuals can manipulate structural loopholes and human trust to perpetrate large-scale exploitation, highlighting the moral responsibility of those in positions of influence. Beyond the immediate financial and emotional consequences, there is a broader societal lesson. Systems designed to protect vulnerable populations must be robust, responsive, and adaptable to prevent similar abuses. Media scrutiny, community advocacy, and public awareness play critical roles in bridging gaps where formal mechanisms fall short, ensuring that victims receive support and potential frauds are exposed before causing further harm. The resilience displayed by victims, advocacy groups, and investigative journalists in this case is a testament to the importance of collective action and the power of information in combating exploitation. Ultimately, this chapter of the story emphasizes that the consequences of fraud extend far beyond the immediate transaction. The human, social, and emotional impacts are deep and long-lasting, affecting not only the individuals directly targeted, but also their families, communities, and the integrity of the systems meant to protect them. It is a narrative of loss, deception, systemic vulnerability, and the critical need for awareness, accountability, and support. Through understanding these dynamics, both individuals and institutions can better safeguard against similar schemes in the future, ensuring that hope and ambition are not exploited for personal gain. As the story unfolded further, the focus shifted to the immense consequences of Reza's disappearance and the void it left in the lives of the victims. With the recruiter safely in Pakistan, students were left grappling not only with financial loss, but also with a profound sense of vulnerability and uncertainty about their futures. Many had invested their savings, believing in the promise of legitimate work opportunities, and now faced the daunting reality of being stranded without legal status in the UK. The impact extended far beyond money. It touched the emotional, psychological, and social well-being of every individual involved. Fear and anxiety became constant companions as students navigated a world where their immigration status was precarious and the people they had trusted had vanished. Community organizations quickly became a lifeline, offering advice, counseling, and advocacy to those affected. The Sikh Advice Center, among others, received a surge of complaints, helping students understand their limited options and providing guidance on how to protect themselves moving forward. Through this support network, victims began to piece together what had happened and to grasp the scale of the exploitation. Investigations revealed that Reza had meticulously engineered his operation, exploiting both loopholes in the visa system and the trust of vulnerable individuals. Each document, certificate, and job offer had been carefully fabricated to create an air of legitimacy. Students were guided through a process that seemed official, leaving little reason for doubt until rejection letters and failed sponsorship confirmations began arriving. The realization of betrayal was overwhelming for many. Beyond personal disappointment, there was a sense of shame and a fear of judgment, particularly because many had involved their families in the process, sometimes borrowing or pooling resources to pay for the applications. The emotional toll was compounded by the difficulty of reporting the crime, as undocumented status often prevented victims from coming forward. While authorities faced challenges in pursuing Reza due to his relocation abroad, media attention brought a critical dimension to the case. Investigative reporting by outlets such as the BBC illuminated the scale of the scam and the sophistication of the operation, detailing how hundreds of applications had been processed and how the recruiter had profited immensely from the exploitation of others. Yet, despite this exposure, legal accountability remained elusive, highlighting gaps in cross-border enforcement and the limitations of existing systems to bring fraudsters to justice. This lack of consequence intensified the frustration and disillusionment felt by victims, who had trusted in both legal processes and ethical conduct. The narrative also demonstrates the broader implications for immigration systems and the responsibilities of institutions tasked with oversight. When gaps exist, individuals with knowledge and opportunistic intent can exploit them to devastating effect. The case underscored the importance of rigorous verification, vigilant monitoring, and proactive measures to protect vulnerable populations. Furthermore, the human dimension of the story cannot be understated. Victims were not merely statistics, they were students, families, and communities who had been manipulated at a critical moment in their lives. The personal stories of loss, fear, and resilience highlight the profound human cost of such schemes. While financial loss can be quantified, the emotional scars, feelings of betrayal, and disruption to life plans are far more enduring. Community action and advocacy became crucial in mitigating these harms, providing resources, raising awareness, and helping victims navigate complex bureaucratic landscapes. The story also raises questions about the ethical responsibilities of recruiters, institutions, and authorities. Exploitation of trust, particularly in contexts involving immigration and employment, is a breach not only of law, but of fundamental human decency. The case serves as a reminder that individuals must critically evaluate offers, verify credentials independently, and seek advice from trusted sources before making significant commitments. The Reza scam, while shocking in scale, also serves as a learning moment. It illustrates how ambition, hope, and desperation can intersect in ways that make individuals vulnerable to sophisticated fraud, and it emphasizes the need for systemic safeguards and community vigilance. The experience of the victims highlights resilience and the importance of collective support in the face of exploitation. Community organizations, advocacy groups, and investigative journalists played indispensable roles in ensuring that the story was told, that awareness was raised, and that future exploitation could be prevented. Ultimately, this chapter of the story underscores the enduring consequences of fraud and deception, touching on emotional, social, and systemic dimensions. It calls attention to the responsibilities of institutions, the importance of due diligence, and the critical need for awareness and support networks.
The victim's experiences, the investigative reporting, and the gaps in accountability together provide a multi-dimensional perspective on the dangers of exploitation, the vulnerabilities within migration systems, and the need for both personal and institutional vigilance. As the story reaches its conclusion, the focus turns to the broader lessons and reflections arising from the scandal, emphasizing both the human and systemic consequences of Raza's actions. While the immediate impact of the scam had already devastated the victim's financial and emotional well-being, its long-term effects extended into every facet of their lives, illustrating how a single individual's exploitation can ripple outward and touch entire communities. The students, many of whom had invested life savings, borrowed from family, or relied on loans to pay for the promised visas, now faced not only economic hardship, but also a profound disruption to their personal and professional aspirations. The dream of working legally in the UK, building a career, and creating a stable future had been shattered in an instant. Many students experienced intense stress and anxiety, compounded by the fear of being undocumented and the challenges of navigating immigration systems without proper guidance. This state of vulnerability created barriers to reporting the crime or seeking justice, which only further empowered Raza to operate with impunity. At the same time, the story highlights the resilience and adaptability of the victims and the broader community. Community organizations, advocacy groups, and support networks became essential lifelines, offering advice, legal guidance, emotional support, and practical assistance. These institutions not only helped individuals recover from the immediate fallout, but also worked to raise awareness, ensuring that similar exploitation would be more difficult to carry out in the future. Media coverage, particularly investigative reporting by outlets like the BBC, played a pivotal role in bringing national attention to the scam, highlighting both the scale of the fraud and the gaps in enforcement that allowed it to occur. The exposure underscored the need for greater transparency and accountability within the systems meant to protect international students and immigrants, including visa oversight, employer verification, and mechanisms for reporting fraudulent activity. The case also serves as a stark reminder of the human cost of fraud. Beyond financial loss, the psychological toll of betrayal, fear, and uncertainty can be long-lasting, affecting confidence, trust, and overall well-being. The students who fell victim to Raza's scheme had placed trust in a system and an individual, and the violation of that trust left an enduring impact. It is a reminder that fraud is not merely a legal or financial issue. It is a human one, with consequences that extend far beyond the immediate transaction. The broader societal implications are equally significant. This scandal exposed vulnerabilities in immigration processes and highlighted the importance of vigilance at multiple levels, from individual applicants to regulatory authorities. It demonstrates that even sophisticated systems can be exploited if oversight is insufficient or if individuals are left without clear guidance and protection. Ethical responsibility, due diligence, and proactive safeguards are critical in preventing such exploitation, ensuring that hope and ambition are not used as tools for deception. Furthermore, the story emphasizes the critical role of community, advocacy, and collective action. While the legal system struggled to hold Raza accountable, the response of community organizations, activists, and journalists provided both support to victims and pressure on authorities to recognize and address systemic shortcomings. This collaborative effort illustrates that even when formal mechanisms fail, social networks and public attention can provide meaningful protection and remediation. In reflecting on this case, it is clear that the lessons extend beyond immigration fraud. They touch on trust, accountability, ethics, and the importance of preparedness in the face of opportunity and risk. For individuals, it reinforces the need to verify credentials, seek guidance from trusted sources, and remain cautious when promises seem too good to be true. For institutions and authorities, it highlights the importance of robust oversight, rapid response mechanisms, and international cooperation in preventing and addressing cross-border fraud. Ultimately, the story of Raza and the British-Pakistani visa scam is a complex narrative of ambition, exploitation, vulnerability, and resilience. It illustrates how hope and aspiration can be manipulated for personal gain, the devastating consequences for those caught in the deception, and the vital role of communities, media, and advocacy in bridging gaps left by formal systems. It is a cautionary tale for individuals navigating opportunities abroad, a call to action for stronger institutional safeguards, and a testament to the strength of collective awareness and support in confronting exploitation. The case leaves an enduring impression. Fraud is never just about money. It is about trust, dreams, and the lives that are disrupted in its wake. It underscores the importance of vigilance, verification, and ethical conduct in every aspect of personal and professional life, ensuring that ambition and hope are protected rather than exploited. While Raza may have walked away without facing legal consequences, the legacy of this scandal endures in the lessons it imparts, the resilience of the victims, and the ongoing efforts to create a safer, more accountable environment for future generations seeking opportunity abroad. The narrative closes with a reflection on the responsibilities of all parties, individuals, communities, authorities, and society at large, to remain vigilant, compassionate, and proactive in the face of deception, ensuring that hope is never weaponized against those who trust it most.